Hello there, my name is Rupesh Thakkar. I have been stalked, harassed and followed by the British government for the past 18 months. It's been a very strange experience. I have had police cars outside my house every time I go outside. I've had around 150 emails back and forth between myself and the British government in order to bring back my daughter from the Philippines to the UK. The reason why I have faced this harassment is because I have raised a voice against the government. I'm not afraid of the government and they can harass me as much as they like, but I will continue on this path as long as I feel it is correct. I'm sure there are many questions in your mind as to why the government would target only me. Well, it's not just me. This is like a covert behavior changing operation. What this is covertly doing things like playing sirens from police cars and ambulances and fire trucks at behaviors which the government does not like or wants you to change. On the internet, I found a guide called Achieving Behavior Change, a guide for national government. Now, when you look on that guide, you will be surprised to learn that coercion is a tactic used by government to change behavior. Now, this does not only mean forcing people to do or not do things. It includes anything that involves unattractive outcomes, including social disapproval and increasing price. Now, we all know that there is a price increase at the moment and everyone is under a cost of living crisis. How do we know that it's not manufactured by governments? They have the power at the borders and they are able to limit supply as they wish. And they can use third party tactics, they can use loopholes in the law to make it seem like there is a shortage in supply. Another thing I found in the guide is something called nudges. Now, nudges are interventions that lead people to do anything without it being obvious to them that their behavior is being shaped. Now, this is what I am facing. So when I go outside of the house, the fact that I'm seeing sirens is like the government's way of trying to make me stay in the house. And this is an extension of the whole COVID lockdown thing, where the whole nation was transformed into practically a jail. In 2019, I went to the Philippines and I met my girlfriend, Marika. Now, me and Marika, we really loved each other. We wanted to go on holiday to India. Now, we were stopped at Manila airport and the Philippine immigration did not let us go. Marika, who is very vulnerable, very stressed in these situations, she was forced to go home alone with little money because I didn't have much cash on me at that time. I was planning on obviously going abroad. I don't know if that was the right thing for the immigration staff to do. When I reached India, I complained to the Philippines government and they wrote to me saying that these are precautions taken to stop human trafficking. Now, I don't know how to have proved to them that this is my girlfriend, not a bloody human trafficking case. But anyway, 2 months later, I found out from my girlfriend that she's pregnant. Now, in order for me to bring my child and my girlfriend from the Philippines or even go to meet them, I had to apply for a Philippine visa during the lockdown. And this was a very lengthy process. There were lots and lots of requirements. My daughter was born on the 11th of October 2020 and her name was Preeti. Now, I began sending money to my girlfriend for our daughter. But my girlfriend's mother saw this as an opportunity to extract more money from me at this tough time. And the way that she would blackmail me into doing so is that if I did not send that more money, then I would get pictures of my daughter kind of suffering. Sometimes there was a mark on her neck on one occasion, and this is the type of stuff that I would face. I felt that this was a human rights abuse case. So I got in touch with the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office in the UK, based in London. And I thought that they were upholders of human rights, and that's why I contacted them. Little did I know that their advertising of standing up for human rights is just a cover so that they can do the complete opposite on the inside. I applied for an emergency travel document to bring my daughter back to the UK. but my situation was not treated like an emergency. Even after I arrived in the Philippines, the British government asked me to complete countless requirements. One of those was to reply to about well over 100 emails back and forth between myself and the government. Now that 100 emails at a time when you're really stuck and when you're in an emergency is excessive, out of order, disproportionate, and I think that is a criminal act, because if someone is under human rights abuse, at that time you should do your very best to help, especially if you are advertising yourself as someone who protects human rights. During this lengthy process, I was not happy with the way that the government was handling our case. Emails kept being sent back and forth, and the requirements kept being added. My daughter was at risk of going back into the hands of her grandmother, and she does not care about my daughter's welfare. So I decided to complain to the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office in London instead of the British Embassy in Manila, who I was dealing with. Little did I know that the FCDO are incapable of taking any constructive criticism. And instead of helping and supporting us, the government started covertly harassing us. Now they did this in collaboration with the Philippine government. They did not harass us directly, they used third parties. Now the goal of the government is to silence any anti-government critics, but also to advertise the fact that they are not as helpful as their sarcastic initial help offerings sound. Now when I was in the Philippines, there were so many strange incidences that happened, and I don't think that they're all coincidences. I think that there is a certain amount of planning that the government does behind the scenes. So after I sent that complaint to the FCDO, that's when these incidences occurred. So first of all, there were sirens from several strange looking vehicles. Have a look at this tuk-tuk that is, blowing a siren. And it's so stupid. We were going somewhere and these bloody siren vehicles would follow us where we would go. There was a fire truck that kind of reversed. It was going that way, then it reversed where we were and then continued its path, which was also very strange. Apart from that, there was, even in my hotel, there were so many strange things, like there was a fire on my cooking stove, so it was a malfunctioning stove. There was air conditioning which was filthy, horrible, disgusting. It was blowing out dust. But there is one worrying thing, and that is that during the stay in the Philippines, there was a hotel and there was a loud noise, a buzzing noise from a big box which looked like a generator. And at that time, I mean, I've had lots of those types of boxes, generators in loads of hotels, but at that particular time, after complaining, me, my girlfriend and my daughter was crying like crazy. My girlfriend had severe headaches and I had headaches too. So I was wondering, what is this? This is a little strange. It could be some sort of technology. I looked into it. It seems that there are many people who have been targeted with the use of microwave weapons. That's the only thing that I can think of. Now when you buy a microwave, it says on there, do not take the lid off, it's dangerous. So to build a microwave weapon is not actually that difficult. You just need a microwave, a little bit of technical knowledge, and off you go. You can covertly cause someone to have severe headaches and all sorts of health problems by having very simple machinery. And that, I think, is what was happening in the hotel in the Philippines. This is one situation where I saw a hotel staff member looking into the roof and a big buzzing sound. there were strange signs. So, for example, this sign here which says "Do not smoke in the delimited area," which I thought was a bit strange. There was a clock, and it was on the wall, and it wouldn't work. So, and then I picked it up, and it started working. So it's like you're in a haunted hotel, if you like. And even on my computer on Netflix, there were similar themed things that would pop up to kind of make me watch them, which I would never normally watch, things like haunted hotels and stuff like that. So it's like the computer that I have is hacked, and they know what I'm doing, but also they're carrying out that harassment in real life. So it's kind of to mimic a psychological condition, whereas the only people with the psychological condition are the government themselves. Now just take a look at this letter. It just looks like it's been printed in a haunted house. I received this from the British Embassy in Manila, and it's also spelt my daughter's name wrongly. In this second letter, you'll see this is from the passport office in the United Kingdom, by the way, and we're talking about a country that is English speaking. They know how to spell, and despite that, they spelled the name of my daughter wrong 10 times in different ways. Now, we're not talking about, you know, a child, at least I hope not, but we're talking about a British government, and they surely should be able to spell properly, unless they're trying to kind of stab you in the back, just like, you know, in school when someone's trying to bully you, and then when the teacher comes they kind of act all innocent. That's exactly what the British government is doing at the moment. We had an event where my girlfriend and my daughter were in a taxi, and the taxi just drove off without me. And then about 100 yards later, the taxi stopped because my girlfriend shouted at him, and they got off. We reported this to the police. The police officer did not help. They were not very helpful. And so what their goal was, is that before I even arrive in the UK, they kind of send me round and round in circles so much that that initial frustration of 100 emails, lengthy requirements, and then this harassment kind of spins you around, or kind of makes you semi-frustrated. And when you come to England, you're so frustrated, you say, oh my God, you know what happened, this happened, that happened, and you sound more silly. But the truth is that the British government just wants you to end up either going to jail by committing a criminal act, or end up in hospital. And I didn't do either. I remained strong so that I can share my story with yourselves coherently, and so that the British public can know that the British government is not as sweet and as innocent as they look. So the hotel that I was in is kind of a spooky shit hotel, to be honest, and they gave me a letter which says that the door is not locking. So anyone could have come in my room, and it's just kind of to make you more frustrated and more conscious. Just have a look at how many requirements I had to complete to get my daughter's birth certificate. It was horrendous, and we had to stand in lengthy queues, and it was absolutely boiling hot, and I had to take my daughter and my girlfriend everywhere because you can't leave them alone, you know, and it was a very stressful situation. Hello. Good morning. How are you? I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that I woke you up. No, please don't sleep again, no. Pretty, listen, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I wake you up, okay? But tomorrow we have a very good, important work to do, okay? Okay, important meeting as well. So please, can you wake up? Yeah! That's very... Yeah, good. That is amazing. She woke up. Wow. Now, we were completing all these requirements while Marika's mother wanted control over Marika, and the matter ended up in a police station. You know, I went to the police station. Marika's mother was shouting at Marika, and she said, you know, why are you with him, you know, leave him and come to me, all that type of stuff. Marika's mother only cares about money. She just wants more money from me. And so Marika said to her, no, I want to stay with Rupesh.
Sige, ako, dali. Ikaw ate, saglit. Gusto mo bang kausapin nanay mo? Dito ka na daw, nanay. Kausapin mo na. Dali na. Huwag ka na magwawala dyan. Dali na. Dito na.
Oh, stop your
Doon kayo,
video.
doon kayo sa loob.
Oh, you see? Binibideo niya. Ako ang nanay, hindi niya nire-respeto.
She's made a decision. She has.
Ako ang nanay, hindi niya
Doon kayo,
nire-respeto.
mag-usap kayo doon. Upo ka lang dyan, tatay.
And we wrote this on a police complaint letter, but it didn't speed things up. The FCDO and the British Embassy in Manila, they took their time and some, 4 months to issue a emergency travel document is borderline criminal, to be honest. Another strange thing that I noticed is a Seattle, the word Seattle written on my air ticket. My air ticket was from Manila to London. I did not need any Seattle written on my air ticket. So my air ticket had Seattle written on it, and there was an app called by Grab, and that also I got a message saying Seattle on it. So it's very strange. It's like the government had made certain apps to make people think that they're genuine and then use them. And I found out later, about a few months later, that they actually did this in a worldwide operation to catch criminals. And they made these fake apps and they thought, oh, well, we're so clever, we can catch these criminals. But actually they're losers, because what they're doing is they're punishing people who are not criminals.
Criminal bosses were tricked into using an FBI-run encrypted messaging app. Over the last number of years, intelligence services have hacked and disrupted messaging systems that crime bosses thought were secure. Criminals were desperate for a new trustworthy platform. They thought they'd found it when they discovered Anom. Thing is, it had been secretly developed by the FBI, unbeknownst to the crime syndicates who had total confidence in it.
And this time we're using the online interfaces that we sometimes worry about. We're using that to strike back at the criminals. The criminals need this infrastructure to operate. And if they don't have infrastructure, their efforts are really impeded. And what we've seen here is law enforcement around the globe using that infrastructure to get back at the bad guys online. And so that's what the bad guys didn't think about here. They trusted that infrastructure. They used it to facilitate their enterprises. And because they trusted that piece of the infrastructure and law enforcement had access to it, they provided a wealth of information into what they were doing. This is really a digital sting operation.
One always fears that big-time criminals are one step ahead.
I think this shows that they're not. I think this shows that they can be caught at their game. They do need infrastructure to advance their means and advance their objectives. And so this is really showing that law enforcement was one step ahead. They got ahead of the criminals by being the ones that were offering the infrastructure that facilitated the acts. This is the kind of thing you see in movies, and it certainly made me really proud to be a member of the law enforcement community. So I think that'll be interesting to see how we use the different actors that have been ensnared in this, the use of this platform. Will we be able to use them as sources for additional information about other criminal acts?
But, I mean, is it really as good as this?
It's like I said, this is the kind of thing you would think to see in a movie. I think that this is really a proud day for law enforcement around the globe. I've read an article that this was an idea that was dreamed up maybe at a pub. And this is something they probably couldn't have imagined how successful this was going to be. 18 months at least of capturing this criminal activity. So this is really a proud day for the good.
Now, one thing that was strange is that even at night, we had air raid shelter sirens in the Philippines at that time. Now I wonder if the British government knew that there will be a war in Ukraine. I don't know how they knew that. It's possible that they were aggravating Putin behind the scenes. It's also possible that there's a certain amount of preemptive planning into all this war stuff. But they were experimenting on the effects of these type of sirens on either people in general or on us, because we were part of this experiment. So just have a look at these sirens. I mean, it's very, very disturbing. There's no real need for them at all. Now, it's not just me that these type of tactics are used against. There's MPs, there's journalists. In this next clip, there is a journalist speaking out against the government, and in the background you can hear a patronizing police siren.
with quite a lot of disappointment and a little bit of anger on some parts. I've had messages from Tory MPs talking about how it was a bit pathetic, a lot of teeth sucking, and another one, he's a prisoner of back covering scientists. And I think what they particularly noticed was that when the Prime Minister was asked, can you absolutely give a hard, fast guarantee?
So they do use these type of tactics on all levels of people. Now, when I go outside, I see strange things like fake police cars. I checked that car and it has not had an MOT in God knows how long. I've seen an ambulance which is parked in McDonald's, and the ambulance employees are eating in McDonald's. Now, I don't know about the British people, but I don't expect an ambulance with its drivers, with the ambulance itself, eating at McDonald's. I don't think that that's right for them to do. They should be doing that in their own time, not in public time, because we pay our taxes for a reason. See, there's an ambulance at McDonald's, and this is how they use their vehicles. So they are eating in McDonald's, as you can see. On one occasion, there was a fire truck which costs, I don't know, £100,000, and you've got a crew of fire officers, and they're in where I've gone to do my shopping. They park there, somehow they know I'm going to be there, having a fag, getting some shopping, just chilling out, and it just feels quite disgusting. And this is, they want to build up more frustration in me, but I don't know about me, but you surely should be frustrated at that fact. Now, as you can see, I've just come to Lidl to do some shopping, and over here there is a fire truck that is just parked here, absolutely doing nothing, and there's just a fire officer there, and that's about it. They're not doing anything at all, just having a fag and wasting time. And so all these emergency services that we respect so much, you know, they're just literally parked outside Lidl doing nothing. And fire trucks, ambulances, police, all these services that we have so much respect for, they don't really do anything. They just, nowadays especially, that all they're doing is that they're using their time to harass other people. And they're doing this indirectly by making a presence felt where they want that presence to be felt. So, for example, if there is anyone that is anti-government, if there is anyone who protests against the government, then to silence them, all they do is they use the crews which they already have, and maybe the crew people, they don't know that, but they're just being used as middlemen to kind of make a presence around people who are anti-government. And as you can see, a fire truck is quite a precious vehicle. It's worth maybe £100,000, and it's something that should be allocated to emergencies, not for people to park outside a supermarket and have a fag or go and get something from the supermarket. And I can see some of the fire officers, they're coming back from Lidl, as you can see, with their shopping. That's all they've done. They've gone to get some food, milk and other things like that, parked outside a supermarket, and now off they go. They were not here for any emergency whatsoever. And so where you see these emergency vehicles, it does not necessarily mean that they're there for an emergency. So I'm just parked outside Lidl, and these emergency crews, I've seen them more and more and more. Ambulances, police cars, fire trucks, they just have so much time on their hands, so much free time. They're not on an emergency all the time. They are completely free most of the time, and because of that, they have that excess energy, and the government puts that to use by targeting anti-government protesters such as myself. And that didn't just happen once. On a separate occasion, I went to Lidl to do my shopping, and there was a police car parked there. When I went inside, they were not on any case, they were not buying anything, they were just there to kind of frustrate me. They looked at me in a very patronizing way as they walked past. Now, it's possible that the government may have been suspicious of me when I initially took my girlfriend or tried to take my girlfriend on holiday. It's also possible that I may have been added onto some sort of watch list because I went back to the Philippines and tried to bring my daughter to the UK. The British government is overprotective because they don't want to be done over. Now that overprotection has gone so far that they can't see themselves what it's done to them. Now as time went on, the British government and their crew of around 10 or 20 people, they could not find anything wrong that I did. So they started to become more and more frustrated. They started to harass me more and more. Now going around harassing people, especially individuals, and that too a gang of however many people, is a disgusting, low-level and loser thing to do. If the British government is doing this, then the British government is a loser. I'm British, I'm living in England, but I have to give this constructive criticism to the British government, and I'm doing it for the British people. If the Philippine government is partnering with England in carrying out this covert harassment, then the Philippine government is also a loser. And if, I'm also Indian by the way, I was born in India. If the Indian government is carrying out this covert harassment, then the Indian government is also a loser. You can imagine, you know, Narendra Modi and the ex-Prime Minister Boris Johnson having a chat about this, you know, how can we go around harassing people? And if that was the case, then you're all losers. Giving someone hope and then dashing it, you think you're great because of that? Harassing people into isolation, you think you're great because of that? You see, I think that the British government needs help, and I think that there is pain hidden inside them. We should help them. The truth is that we are living under a government scheme that is so selfish, so self-obsessed, and they're so control freaks that they will go to any length to get revenge. And they are not concerned about your welfare, they're not concerned about anyone's welfare. The only thing they're interested in is imposing sanctions, making rules, and making our lives as difficult as possibly that they can. When I returned to the UK, I continue to see the same sort of police cars and sirens every time I go outside. So, you know, in terms of getting evidence, the only thing I could have is kind of me taking a picture of the police siren. So I decided to install CCTV at my house. And I got some absolutely amazing evidence that I have compiled, and you can have a look and you can see that whether it's 5 in the morning or 2 in the morning, anytime that I go outside, there's a police car or an ambulance that kind of drives by to say hi, because they really, really love me so much. Now I'm going to take you through some CCTV footage. So in this clip, it's 5 in the morning, and just as I step outside, an ambulance with sirens just passes by me. So I just take a moment to give it some respect, and then I continue what I'm doing. Now in this next clip, my mum visits me for the first time in 3 months. As soon as my mum comes out of the car, you can see at the top right of the screen that an ambulance is lit up and out of thin air, and kind of is heading towards us. So kind of got used to it, and here comes the ambulance. Goodbye. There it goes. Now on the same day, as soon as my mum is about to leave, a police car drives past one more time to kind of say goodbye, and here I am just entering my house, and just as you can see, the police car is about to come. There we go, one more time. Now when I'm entering the house, I see that and I say, hey Mom, did you see that? Like that. Now there's some way that the government and police know what I'm doing inside my house. So it's possible they've either hacked my CCTV or got some other covert cameras or any other way. Now in this next clip, I'm just looking for clothes in my living room. I've blurred out myself for privacy. Sorry girls. And you can see that there's a fire truck just as I'm in the living room, and then the fire truck just leaves. So just think how invasive that is, knowing what someone's doing in your house. So now this one is a fake pullover. Now the reason I know it's fake is that in a moment you'll see this police car has got blue lights at the moment. It will change to red in a moment, and there's a truck that it's pulled over. It's all fake, and I was about to come out of my house at that time, so that's why this is happening now. So you can see the red lights, and I just come outside, and I don't go out of the house much, just maybe 2 or 3 times or 4 times a day. But here I come outside, and straight away there's some more street theatre. So I just call my neighbor, and he comes out in a second, and he says, yes, just have a look at what's happening over there. And after that brief discussion, I will in a minute just decide to kind of go there and investigate. Now you'll see there's a car that is pulled up ahead of the police. Now the police, behind that police car is another car which is on double yellow lines. So I don't know who would do that in front of a police car, but anyway, their goal is kind of to work together and generate fear. So you'll see, look at that car move and kind of drive around the police and speedily go past me just as I'm going to investigate. So sometimes there's a short siren to remind us that we're dealing with babies here. So just have a listen. Now in the next clip, my neighbor, he rings my doorbell with a stick. So you'll just see him, and just as he rings the doorbell with a stick, a police car drives past. So in this next clip, it's 2:40 in the morning, and I hear some loud banging sounds. So I'm like, where's that coming from? I go outside to investigate, and I've got the dehumidifier thing in my hand to empty, but the police drive past as soon as I come out of my house. It's 2:40 in the morning. So no matter what time of day it is, they want to let you know that they're always watching. Not that I couldn't care less, to be honest. So this is that same thing from a different angle. I'm just wondering where that sound's coming from, and there goes the police. Now on this day, I come home with some food I'm wanting to eat. As soon as I arrive home, there is an ambulance that drives past really slowly. And now not only that, they just made eye contact with me in a very weird way as well. And then they went on and parked on the same street slightly further up. So here comes the ambulance. There we go. Now we can get on with what we were doing. I decided to go and investigate, why is that ambulance parked there? And I went there to share my story with them. As I was going there, the police sounded another siren, and another police car kind of drove past the ambulance quite speedily, just as I was just having a chat with them. Now I've got a black Range Rover, okay? When I drive past my car on this next clip, you'll see a police car drive past at exactly the same time. So it's kind of trying to let you know that, you're under surveillance. There are thousands of people who have tracked and been, under surveillance to the extent that they either revert to crime or become mentally unwell. So the British government is not catching criminals, that's not their goal. They are manufacturing people who revert to either crime or end up in hospital. It gives them some sort of thrill. It's kind of like fox hunting or bullfighting. It's like that. So get this, after 18 months of harassment and following me, stalking me, tracking me, the police finally knocked on my door and they said, "Mr. Rupesh Thakkar, we have noticed suspicious activities of your car." And I said, "Okay, what suspicious activities have you noticed?" And they said, "You were spotted with 2 girls outside." And I said, "Okay, fine. They were probably friends, or if not, then so what? What's the big deal?" And he says, "Were they of legal age?" And I said, "Yes, they were of legal age." And so he said, "Can I come in your house and search your house?" And I said, "Yes." Now, I don't know if they need a search warrant or not, but he came in, searched my house, and I explained to him that the main reason why he is there is because of this covert harassment thing that has been going on for a while. And the fact that the officer said that we have noticed suspicious activities of your car, and the fact that he found my address, even though my number plate is not registered at that particular address, my number plate is registered to my old address. So for them to find my house, you know, let's just get real. The police were using illegal tactics to kind of track and follow me for well over a year. And this is totally against human rights. It's a human rights abuse, it's illegal, and the government needs to be held accountable for all of this. So one thing that they can't get over is the fact that I haven't done anything wrong. So a couple of days later, 2 carefully hand-selected police officers came to my house to see if they could help. And that was not really a way of helping. All they wanted to do is kind of cover up the police. So anything that I said, they said, "Oh, that's nothing." And they kind of patronized me. They refused to look at the CCTV footage that I have. I mean, if I'm accusing someone of a crime, whether it's a government or anyone, it's the police's duty to kind of investigate. And so for them to kind of patronize and just say, "Oh, that's nothing, oh, that's nothing," and then leave, I think that's illegal. I think that's against their duty. And I believe that those 2 police officers should face disciplinary action. Now the police, they will speak really extra nicely to you, and so will the government. They'll say, "Oh, Mr. Thakkar, this, that and the other, and how are you," and like that. But actually they're trying to get under your skin. They're trying to kind of make you frustrated. And the police, they don't have any defense. They know for a fact that they're using illegal tactics. They're trying to shape the behavior of individuals that the government may classify as undesirable, or because they have behaviors that are different to their views. You know, they might have a view of something that they want this, but that's up to them. You know, every human has a different life. Every individual has different talents, and every individual has a different way of expressing themselves. And the government is like this old auntie that comes and kind of tries to force you to do something that you don't want to do. What's really funny as well is that one of the police officers, she was a nice lady. I say to her, "Listen, dear, I've been harassed by the police." And she goes, "I'm not dear, I'm a police officer." Now, she got so angry about that one word. Now, I would say to that person that I've been harassed consistently for well over 1.5 years. And when I said, "Will you please look at the CCTV footage?" both of them, they said, "Oh, we don't need to," like that. So if they can brush aside 1.5 years of my harassment, and if they get so worked up over one word, they don't deserve to be police officers. It doesn't matter how sweet and innocent you think that the police force is. It also doesn't matter how sweet and innocent you think that the government is. If someone is accusing them of harassing themselves, then it's the duty of police and government to look into the CCTV footage and get to the bottom of it. If a police officer refuses to look at CCTV evidence and refuses to take your complaint seriously, then I believe that those police officers should be sacked. So what the police officers have done by refusing to look at my CCTV and instead asking me about mental health and all that type of stuff, what they have done is they have made the government's objectives crystal clear. The government wants society to be mentally so weak that they can then rule over society much more easily. Also, just because they are police officers, it does not mean that it gives them the right to come to my house whenever they want. So in this clip, I'm outside, and just as I go inside, a police car just drives past. It should come in just a moment. And there it goes. So in my next clip, I receive a delivery from Amazon Prime, and after receiving the delivery, just as the Prime van is about to drive off, another police car. There they go. I just kind of laugh at them, and I get on with my work. And here's their little parade of a black cab and a red cab. Not quite sure what that means, but let that go. And let's move on to the next clip, shall we? Oh, we've got another angle. So same thing, different angle. So just as I'm putting the parcel inside my house, I can hear the siren. So now in this clip, I'm getting into my Range Rover, and just as I get in, a red car with a number plate which says kind of police drives past me, and at the same time a bicycle which does a wheelie also goes past. So it's just kind of to take the mick, if you like. Now in this clip, there's a Range Rover with the number plate AK09FXU. Now I have a car which is a black Range Rover, and it says AK09PGF. So they've changed the PGF for FXU, so it's kind of like FU, you know. And I've seen that Range Rover quite a few times on whenever I'm going out somewhere, social occasion. They kind of park that there. It's kind of just to kind of patronize and swear at you. They want to try and throw as much abuse at you to reduce your self-confidence, but it doesn't have any impact anymore on me. So yeah. Now in this clip, that police number plate car, POLICE, is just going past my workers as they're entering my house to work on my house. Now it's not just that this time. As that police number plate car goes, a real police car comes a few moments later when I go out to buy something. So this just shows that the police works with unmarked cars with patronizing number plates to kind of make the person seem like they are thinking about something too much. But that's not the case. They are behind the scenes, they are obsessed with trying to throw as much abuse at a single target as they can. Now I leave the house just a few moments later, and as I'm going to my car, just as I get in, you will see that a police car will drive past. So we have the police number plate car just a few moments ago, and the police working in collaboration. So you remember that police number plate car, the AK09FU car, FXU car. So I then saw a car with no number plate on it. It's just to kind of play more mind games with you, if you like. Now the government had a lifelong dream, which was to provoke a reaction from me. So there was a day when, as soon as I came out, there was an ambulance that drove past with sirens, and on that day it was kind of becoming a little bit annoying, to say the least. And so this time when I came out and the ambulance drove past, I just, threw the chair on the floor in frustration. And this is just the type of thing that the government absolutely loves. So I remain calm and strong and patient, but there are many people who cannot just deal with this type of stuff, and they end up in hospital or they end up in jail, and I feel sorry for those people. Just look at my state here, for example. I am just a little exhausted, a little tired, whatever you want to call it, and the government absolutely loves that. They see that I'm exhausted, and what they do then is to kind of make me more exhausted. It's their ruthless thinking. They don't really, I don't know how much of a heart that the government has. So the government has, on the same evening, the government, they organized a vehicle that looks like an ambulance, and then there was someone running after it, which is very strange. So it's kind of to generate more exhaustion and fatigues, physically and mentally. So here we go. I just come home with a beautiful milkshake in my hand, and there is a yellow ambulance looking vehicle, and behind that there is a gentleman running after it, as you can see across the road. Very strange indeed. There are 7 reasons in total why the government could be targeting me. First of all, I have anti-government views, and I don't approve of many things that government does. Secondly, I complained against the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office when they were not handling my daughter's case properly and they were taking way too long. Thirdly, I complained to the Minister of Parliament. Fourthly, to the police. Fifthly, that there was a breakdown in communication between around 150 emails just for one emergency travel document that took 4 months for the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office to issue. And finally, number 6 is the undercover operation, because they want to find out if this person is up to any criminal activity, which I'm not. And finally, this is a behavior changing experiment. Also, if you're a police officer, it does not mean that you know everything about every department of the police force. Just like if there is a worker who works in Asda or Tesco or Sainsbury's, it's not necessary that they know everything. There is a buying manager, there is a stocker, there is a cashier, there is a store general manager, and all sorts of different posts. Different levels of people have different levels of knowledge. So just because you don't have any negative experiences of the FCDO or the police, it does not mean that you know everything. And on the contrary, if you do know something, then I would encourage you to step up and stand up for your country. This is not just about you. This is about the people of England and the wider world. So I would encourage you to blow the whistle, step forward. Do not be afraid of government. Government is nothing. Government is nothing to be afraid of. They can do anything they want to me. I am not going to change my position until I want to. They are weak, and they're showing their weakness by harassing me. So if you are a member of government, or if you are a member of police, then step forward and blow the whistle on your own department. Then you will become a true legend. There are so many people that are stuck in a mental health ward or in jail because of this covert harassment. There was a man, a lawyer, who believed that he was being followed by the police. He did not know how to get help. He did not know who to turn to. He didn't know who the real police were and who the fake police were. And in the end, he reverted to crime. The court judged him as mentally unwell. But I bet you that there is some truth to his story as well. And I bet that the government's covert harassment scheme is something that has to do with his situation. To all the psychiatrists, the doctors, you need to be made aware of this situation, because there is a difference between a person who's suffering from mental health and a person who has an environment created around him to mimic mental health problems. I do not believe that the British government is catching criminals. I believe that the British government is manufacturing criminals. I personally will not revert to crime, but the British government already has in vast proportions. And just because Boris Johnson has resigned, it does not mean that the rest of the government can continue with this harassment and the rest of government can get away with it. Now, it's not just me. There are so many people, thousands of people. I've looked and found that there are groups of people who feel they're being targeted by the government. They've set up these groups, these YouTube channels, and the government brushes them aside, just like those two police officers that came to my house, and they say, oh, it's nothing, like that. And they can continue patronizing these people, but I bet there's a lot of truth to their story too. And so those people need help, because if we don't help them now, then the whole population is at stake. Then everyone could be harassed in future, including you. Now, all in all, the government is panicking. Slowly and gradually, the truth is coming out. People are seeing straight through the manipulative tactics of government, and they can see what a big fat liar it is. They put up all these different fronts of different organizations to then do the completely opposite behind them. Now I told you earlier about people who end up in mental health wards or people who end up in jail. The government loves doing this. Do you know why? Because it makes them feel more powerful than they are actually ever going to be on the inside. On the inside, the government is the one with a mental health problem. They have a split personality disorder on the one side, and on the other side, they have an obsessive controlling disorder. So it makes them feel more powerful when there are people who are confident, calm, relaxed, and everything that they will never ever be. And when they can go there and kind of bring them down, it makes them feel amazing. Yo, this is amazing. We brought this person down. But actually, that person alone is stronger than the entire government will ever be. Now, this is also a PR strategy aimed at reducing the image of being British, because British people are quite proud of their heritage. So am I, and you should be. But the government wants to kind of squash our pride and kind of reduce us down to tatters. So that's the reason why a lot of immigrants, applicants are being sent to Rwanda, because it's kind of, that's the direction that they want to send us in, you know? Let's just send them over there. Now, the government has done this in collaboration with selected emergency services personnel, and they are either in on it or they don't know that they're being used as middlemen to carry out this harassment. They're kind of told, be here at this time, at this place. So I want to make one thing clear. I call the government losers. Now, that's not because they are losers and they have lost some sort of compensation. The main reason the government are losers is because of the way that they have conducted themselves. You see, they are a victim of their own doing. When power comes, greed takes over, obsession, control, all these things happen, but they only happen when power is given into the wrong hands. If you give power to the right hands, then compassion, kindness, and generosity is what will take place. It is possible that many of these politicians and high power people have gone through a lot of pain. And we need to take a moment to understand that pain and sympathize with them as well. Nobody should have to go through pain, suffering. I don't believe that anyway. Maybe the government have gone through a lot of pain. But the way to deal with that is not to put others through the same pain. The way to deal with that is to be more kind, more compassionate, and hopefully share your pain with others by sharing your story with them in the same way that I'm doing right now. So sharing your pain by sharing your story is much more better than bringing someone down to kind of show them that, look, this is how it feels. It's not the positive and proper way to deal with this situation. Now, it's possible that MI5, the FCDO, the British government, many entities are working together to kind of come up with new plans of how they can control the people. You know, I don't care how big the entity is. We need answers. We are the people, so we don't need to be patronized with nonsense. We need answers as to why on earth certain things are happening. Now, the government also wants people like myself to be like a PR vehicle so that I can kind of advertise the fact that this is what happens and this is how the government harasses people. But I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to say is, if you notice something dodgy like that, just take a quick video of it yourself and the harassment incident and share it with the police. And do not be afraid of the government. There's nothing to be afraid of. And you can take my video, you can show that to the police, you can share my video with other people. But do not put up with any of this harassment in silence if it ever happens to you. Individually, these things may not be harassment, but collectively, it is the most disgusting group stalking and bullying organized by the government in the most disgusting way. I believe there need to be strong laws put in place to stop this type of covert harassment. If they can do this to me, just think how much pressure employees of the government would be under. They must be so afraid to speak out. But let me send a clear message to government employees. Don't be afraid of government. They are losers. Expose them and set yourselves free. And just as a hint, it does not matter which political party you choose. It does not even matter which candidate you choose. As long as the government itself is corrupt, things will continue like that. Thanks for watching. Light on the tree. We are in the park.
I like it.
Park very good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Where is Pretty? Where is Pretty?
Yeah.
Where? Where is Pretty?
I don't know.
Where?
Relax.
Where is Pretty? I don't know. Where is Pretty?
I don't know.
I'm so sleepy. Where is Pretty? That's where Pretty is, huh? Pretty, listen. You have to cover, okay? 3, 2, 1, cover. Pretty! No! That's very bad, okay? Okay, I'm gonna cover you one more time. 1, 2, 3, cover. That's not good. It's very cold. Okay, we're gonna try again. 1, 2, 3, cover. Okay, look. 1, 2, 3, cover. How are you? How are you? Are you okay? Your English is amazing. And you are very, very funny. You're very, very funny. And I like your smile. Very good. Very good. Marika, come and see. Very good. What is your name? Pretty?